Good evening, and welcome to the October 26th Town Council meeting. If you'd kindly rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have just a couple of things. The Merrimack Town Council would like to extend our sincere sympathies to the family and friends of Mrs. Anita Krager, who passed away at the age of 85 years old. She was a very special lady that contributed so much to the town of Merrimack. Since 1968, her commitment to the Boy Scouts of America was unwavering, and the impact she made on the youth was commendable. She was most recently honored by the Scouts when Camp Whippoorwill in Merrimack was renamed Camp Krager in honor of her and her dedication of more than 50 years to scouting. Anita's wealth of historical knowledge of the town of Merrimack was most impressive, and her drive and love of history brought her to becoming a member and chairman of the Heritage Commission and the president of the Merrimack Historical Society. Rest in peace, Miss Anita. And I'd like to have a moment of silence for Anita and as well for the families and loved ones of the victims of the Lewiston, Maine shootings. Thank you. Upcoming meetings are Thursday, November 2nd, Thursday, November 16th, and Thursday, December 7th, all at 7 p.m. here in the Matthew Thornton Room for the council, that is, if I didn't say that. Paul, do you have anything?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The Merrimack Police Department's open house was postponed on last Saturday due to weather, is now scheduled for Saturday, November 4th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Special events to include New Hampshire Fire Marshal demo, Canine Anthem, Canine demo with Sergeant Steve Wallen and Dre, Taser demo, bomb robot demo with the Nashville Police Department bomb unit, station tours, our comfort dog Mac, Merrimack PD new search and rescue vehicles, incident command vehicle search and rescue drones, Southern New Hampshire Special Operations Unit, SWAT Bearcat armored vehicle, and much, much more. The Parks and Rec Department invites you to join them this Saturday, the 28th, for the 31st annual Town of Merrimack Halloween Party at Wasserman Park. The event features free games, crafts, demonstrations, and other activities from 32 local businesses and community organizations, along with the annual costume contest and a new pumpkin derby race. The event is held from 12 to 3 p.m. For details, please visit Parks and Recreation Department at Merrimack Parks with an S and rec.org or call 603-882-1046. Finally, DEA's National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day is Saturday, October 28th from 10 to 2 p.m. Drop off of your expired or unused medications in the lobby at Merrimack Police Department. As always, please no needles or liquids. Thank you.
Comments from the press and public. If you would like to address the council, you can feel free to step to the table here with a microphone over on the side. Seeing no one. Under resignations, recognitions, and retirements, the council has considered the acceptance of the resignation of Barbara Healy as the Heritage Commission Town Council Representative Member. We've had to do some shuffling because of we have to put a planning board member on the Town Center Committee. I'm sorry, the Heritage Commission, and so with Barbara as our liaison and a planning board person, we had to do that shuffle. So with thanks, no chair for that, but
May I speak?
yes, you may.
So it's not that I don't enjoy being on the Heritage Commission. I do. History is one of my interests, so it's been great to be there for the last 4 years. But with me being on both boards, you can only have one counselor. So this way, the Heritage Commission, which is always looking for members and always needs more members in order to participate with those activities, they have the opportunity to actually put a second counselor on board. So they get 2 people instead of 1, and that's the reason we're doing this, if that all makes sense. So I'll miss you guys.
Move to accept the resignation of Barbara Healy from the Heritage Commission with regret.
Second.
Motion by Tom Koenig, seconded by Nancy Harrington. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstained? 6-0-1 with Barbara abstaining. Thank you, Barbara. All right, item number 2 is council will be presenting a recognition award to Paul Doobie in recognition of his retirement from the solid waste and wastewater divisions of the Public Works Department after more than 18 years of full-time service. And what's the pleasure of the council? We don't do a motion?
We don't usually vote on
We
that.
just allow him to go.
Well,
And we can,
he's already
Well,
we
gone.
can vote to have him not retire.
No, well, Paul was he was a hard worker. I always enjoyed my visits with him at the solid waste facility and so on.
Wow.
And I just
That
was
won't
on the
work.
roll with Barbara, and I just continued on with it. Sorry, but we're going to be presenting with a plaque, which I will read to you. It's upon the occasion of your retirement and in recognition of the loyal and dedicated full-time service which you have contributed for more than 18 years to the town of Merrimack and the solid waste and the wastewater division of the Public Works Department. Your dedication and devotion to duty has been a tremendous asset to the town of Merrimack, and we wish to extend to you our sincere appreciation for your outstanding performance of duty, January 1st, 2005 to October 15th, 2023, presented by the Merrimack Town Council and the Town Manager. Send him our regards, Paul.
Wish him good health and
Enjoy
enjoyment
your retirement.
in his
Yeah.
retirement.
Hopefully he's watching because he's already gone, but I'm sure Leo will definitely get that message to him.
Very good employee. Sorely missed for me. Thank you, Leo.
Okay.
Under appointments, the council, pursuant to the Merrimack Charter, Article 6, Section 6, at least annually, there should be a review with the Town Center Committee. This agenda item is to highlight the committee's significant actions, current projects, anticipated actions, and to raise any concerns the council should know about or could act upon. And this evening, we have Nelson Disco, who's here to make his presentation. I don't have to tell you, do I?
Lights on.
It's on.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, Nelson.
It's a pleasure once again to be here. I come every year, and slowly we're making progress. But this year, we've made a lot of progress. We've made something. Oh, and joining me is Dawn Twamala. She is the DPW representative to the town council, and she's got a couple of slides she wants you to see, or she wants the people at home to see. And they're in your handouts, so we'll come to those as we go along. But this year, we have a very special event to report, and I'll get to that very shortly. But I want to mention that the Town Center Committee was formed in 2009 by the council, by this council, to implement the changes that were recommended from an NRPC ITRAC study that was done to look at the town center, the center of Merrimack, as we had it at that time defined, to see if we could make it more of a center. There's always been a little questions in people's mind about where the center is, and as you know, Merrimack is composed of 4 villages that gradually merged and grew into each other. And now, but we still call the town center what was once the Sauhegan Village, which is the where we are today, right now. It is defined as the territory between the Effie Everett Turnpike and the Merrimack River, south of Front Street and north of the Rite Aid Shopping Plaza, as it's now known. So our task, the task that was given to the Town Center Committee was to see what we could do about implementing some of the changes and recommendations that were made in the ITRAC study. The ITRAC study looked at making the town center more walkable, basically by providing sidewalks or other amenities that would encourage people to walk from one part of the center to the other and enjoy walking in the center, maybe even coming to do that particular thing. So our committee was formed in, as I say, in 2009, and currently we have 7 members. You may know them as myself, of course, Bill Wilkes, Karen Freed, who is the library representative, Karen Contos, Matt Chevenel represents the SAU, the school district, which is an important part of our town center region. The high school and the Mastercola schools are in this area that I just defined. Don Pomela is representing the Department of Public Works, Nicholas LaValle, Media Services representatives, and our own Finley Rothaus is the council representative to our committee. And we meet probably every 6 weeks or so and discuss different things, which we'll talk about. But the first thing I want to talk about tonight is the Souhegan River Trail. One of the first recommendations that came out of the Town Center Committee was to build a trail that would go from Watson Park, which was at that time newly conceived, and the Wildcat Falls, which is on the Souhegan River. As you may know, it is accessible now only through the through Courier Road, but this trail would make a walking path from Watson Park to Wildcat Falls and on up to the Courier Road if needed. And we applied for, at that time was available, monies through what they called the TAP grant. And a TAP was the Transportation Alternative Plan that the state had available. It was federal money, but it was administered by the state and participated in on a 20-40 basis, with 20% coming from the town, 40% from the federal government. So we applied for this grant and we received an award in 2009. And what year is this? It's been a while. And it's been some ups and downs, some hills to climb, so to speak, literally. And we have now reached a point where we've got a contract with the government, a contract with a contractor who will actually do the work. And we're going to have a grand groundbreaking ceremony a week from tomorrow at the Watson Park to make note of and make an issue of the fact that we are now breaking ground and opening up that trail. That trail is a foot trail, which one would park their car supposedly in Watson Park and be able to walk under Route 3 through an old sluiceway that fed the mill that was on the site of Watson Park, and from there continue all the way up to Wildcat Falls, which is an impressive drop in the Souhegan River, about 13 feet of interrupted by some huge boulders, and but it's worth a walk. It's an easy, nice walk for somebody who wants to just take a short quickie, and that's going to be an amenity in the town center that we're very proud of. And we worked hard to make it happen. It took a lot of there were a lot of bumps in the road. We didn't own all the land at one time. We didn't even, and when we began this, and we had to go through land acquisitions, and then there were cost issues, and many state and federal agencies became involved because it's their money, and everybody had to have a little piece of the action. So, but we've got it done, and we're going now forward now, and the committee is very happy about it, and we want to make note of it at this meeting, and so that people listening and watching can know what's going on there. 10 o'clock Friday morning, a week from tomorrow, and that'd be November 3rd. So that's our biggest thing to report. In addition to that, the committee has put together a plan for other events going on in the town center. And Dawn Twamala did all the heavy lifting on this one, but through the DPW, we took a look at the gaps in our system, that are there now, and we itemized them as small projects individually, and they are in a matrix sheet, an Excel sheet. Maybe you could put that up, Dawn. Thank you. Dawn is putting up the Excel sheet in which we tried to prioritize and monetize each of these additional pieces that we need to complete. These are the pieces of sidewalk that need to be completed to complete the town center plan as originally envisioned in the NRPC study. So you can read those. It's a little hard to read, hard for me to read, but anyway. But you've all got a handout of it, and I don't, and we've made an attempt to prioritize the first four. However, we'll point out that if an opportunity comes along to do any piece of this, regardless of priorities, we'll get it done. Quite a bit of this will be done by the state. There are pieces that connect to the bridge over the Babusick Brook, which is coming up in 2 years, and it'll tie in with the intersection, a rebuild of the intersection of Wire Road and Route 3, and a lot of sidewalk will get built as part of that project. In addition, there'll be some sidewalk added by the overpass bridge on the Effie Everett Turnpike, which will be built. There are two of those. One is on Wire Road and the other being Babusick Lake Road. And there's a sidewalk that connects into the town, and we will pick up from there. We'll get the state to go as far as they will, as they can, or at any rate, we'll try and get as much as that paid for by the state as we can, and then there'll be some more pieces that come together. But we've tried to identify them now. We've got them prioritized. We've got applications for TAP where it's possible, where it's maybe possible, and we hope to go forward with that in the years ahead. That's basically our biggest piece of planning this year, as far as other than finally getting to the Sauhegan River Trail. There's a section of this plan that is under the jurisdiction of the school district. As you may know, it's O'Gara Drive. It's identified on here as O'Gara Drive. And the school district, the SAU, has completed a master plan for their campus, which includes the high school and the extensive parking areas around it. And they're blending it in with their need for a new administrative building for the SAU to replace the green building. They've removed the red building from the site, which was a good thing. And they're now looking forward to building an administration headquarters building there on the campus of the Merrimack High School. That'll take some action by the town and some other things. But anyway, from our point of view, the sidewalk part of it goes along O'Gara Drive, and it's talking about the west side of O'Gara Drive as it connects the high school to Route 3. There's a gap in the sidewalk there where people have to walk in the road, and we've included that as one of the priority items in our master plan. So that's pretty much where we've gone with the sidewalks. Let me see here. I think I've covered everything. The footbridge over the Sauhegan River under Merrill's Marauders Bridge has been added to the governor and council's 10-year plan. And it's in there now, I think at 2035, if you believe that. And that's where it's shown, but at least it's on the map and in the plan for the future to replace that bridge. The bridge that we got free turned out to be not so free. It was corroded beyond the safety points, and so it had to be replaced. It has to be replaced. It's closed now, but it's there. We continue to work on public outreach. We try to, we've involved Nick LaValle and his team of experts on media presentations, and they're putting together the media coverage of the construction of the Sauhegan River Trail. That's their next big project, and they're planning to be on hand on Friday the 13th, Friday the 3rd, and they will document these changes. And the Historical Association, which is revived recently, has taken on some new life, and they are very interested in following it along, and they too want to document some of the things that we do because of its involvement with the sluiceway and the old mill water feed that is now part of the trail. They've gotten interested, so they're involved and also planning to make a video of the construction process. So it'll go on for a period of time. That was done for the Woodbury Street as well. That was a smaller project which we did a couple of years ago, and the media group has put that out, and I think they, from time to time, publish it on the Merrimack TV channels. Let me see what else. We continue to support things like the 4th of July. We have a booth there every year, which draws a lot of interest. We have a large size map like the one that's in your handout, which we show, and people always come and take copies, and everybody is very excited. They want to go out and start walking on it, but it's not ready. So let's see what else I've got on here now. Well, yes, the Safe Routes to School program, we tie in with that through the school. They do an annual walk to school, which is a token walk that they do from the high school to Mastrocola School for the 6th grade kids, 5th grade, I think. Well, yeah, let's see here. Yeah. Okay. Well, our plans for next year, that pretty much covers what we've done this year. For next year, we're planning to continue our work with the SAU in developing the high school master plan and tying it in with our master plans. And hopefully we'll have some favorable votes that would bring about some construction up there next year. That'd be in 2024. And and of course, we continue to rely on the DPW for all of our factual information. So thanks again to Dawn and her helpers there that keep things going. The Town Center Committee, well, let's see here. They started the next phase. Yeah, let me see what else I've got to report to you here. Our recommendations for this year is to, if you can possibly find a way to fund one or more of these little projects, we can take little bites, put it in with the budget, and nobody will ever notice it in their tax rate.
We knew how to do that, Nelson.
But there's some small things that we can do that we could recommend that would not cost a lot of money, but would enhance the town center. And would ask you to consider that and continue to consider it as you have in the past. And I should thank the council for their patience in the 9 years or 12 years that we've been working on the Sauhegan River Trail. They've stayed with us all these years. And that's not been easy. We've had people on the council who thought this was not a good use of town money. And fortunately, there weren't enough of them to kill the project. So we're still alive and well. A reminder in here this year again is the Church Street.
Right.
We've got a dead end Church Street. We've had conversations about this before. We've had recommendations to the council, and this is going to be a council action where you people will have to make the painful decision to close off Church Street from have it just loop in a cul-de-sac up above the new restaurant that's coming, and that it will take it will be some difficulty. So you need to think about it and plan for it, and get people used to the idea that will not be a continued entrance into Route 3. In order to build the sidewalk across there, we have to dead end Church Street, and Church Street is as configured in its intersection with Route 3 is not a safe. Doesn't meet any standards of anything because of its slope and its steep intersection and the sight lines facing north if you're trying to come out of there. So let me see if there's anything. Well, yeah, some of these small things could be put on a warrant article if the council so desired. We could take a small piece of this and make a connection, and I think that the town's people are very supportive of this. The public sessions that we have, whenever we have them, we get people that come and encourage us to continue. We've had people that have actually donated money, small amounts of money, not that they don't realize how much a granite curb costs, but so I think this public will there to continue to see us continue the work of the committee and improving the town center and making it more walkable. So I was told I had 20 minutes to get this over with because you had a busy agenda tonight, and Becky instructed me.
Well, you have to follow what Becky says.
Well, I've already
She
exceeded.
tells us what to do.
I've already overrun my time, but I will open for questions. I would like to answer any questions you might have or any opinions you may have to venture forth for the committee.
Thank you, Nelson. Anybody have anything questions they need asked, or comments?
No, I'll be
No,
there
I
on the
think-
3rd.
I think it's great that that program is going forward on the Sauhegan River Trail. It's great to see that finally
Finally,
coming around.
yeah.
I
that's,
appreciate the work that you folks are doing.
We're talking 14 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, they kept on changing the rules.
well, yes.
Which is the
there's a
federal government
whole-
prerogative, right? It's
Yeah,
just-
And
absolutely.
we had to combine and maneuver and
Yes, there were a lot of issues that came out, and a lot of people are involved with these federal programs that you weren't even thought of. The State Historic Society did an extensive study. They did some nice work, by the way. I shouldn't. It's just tangent to what we were trying to do, but they actually had photographs enlarged and blown up into board-sized pictures of the old mills that were there.
oh, cool.
And they're all going to be part of the display along this trail. There's a lot of things that those weren't in our plan, but we'll take them.
And the numbers as well, as Nelson kind of alluded to earlier, it just grew because everybody started
Kept
jumping in
saying
on
they
the
needed to
project.
study this and
Yes,
study that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
and the laws, the way they're written, give these people that authority. They have the right to look at it. If they're spending federal money, they want to make sure it's spent.
They want their
That you're
piece of the
spending
pie.
enough of it.
Yeah,
And it did. I mean, there's a consequence of that need of theirs, and it was real money as time went on. But the benefit for the community is we're getting part of projects completed that we would have had no help on getting done, and now
Yeah.
it's part of the mix. So that's worked out in a good way for us, for the town.
well, please keep helping us. We need help.
Well,
Thank
with Finley as a representative, he'll make sure we know.
No, they're stacking more on my plate. If you notice,
Yes,
the
well,
agenda item.
Finley knows about it, but he says those guys,
Those guys.
whoever they are.
Oh, is it?
It's just a little piece of sidewalk. Find a little spot.
We've
gotta
got
move
some
on.
very short pieces that we could do for $100,000. Yeah, little pieces.
They are there.
Just a
They're-
simple
they're out
100,000. Must be some laying around here somewhere.
2 cents. All right, Nelson,
Being
thank you so very,
Thank
very
you,
much.
Nelson.
Okay,
We
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks, Dawn.
Don, you're not going away, are you? Let me see.
She's there.
Yeah, she's leaving?
She's getting her
She's getting her other
paperwork.
paperwork. All right, next on the agenda is a public hearing. Council to consider the acceptance of recommended changes to Chapter 167, Stormwater Management Standards of the Merrimack Town Code pursuant to Charter Article 5. Don and Leo are here this evening. Hi, Leo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to say one thing before Dawn gets going, is that legal has reviewed both of these,
That's
this
right.
one and the next one, and there were some very minor changes to them, nothing that would make it have to go back to do a first read. Dawn's incorporated those changes, and she'll explain it in more detail, but I did want to let you know that they did review it.
Good.
Actually, tonight, I'm going to pass it off to Leo because I hogged all of last time. And I felt really bad afterwards that I did all the talking without having him do it because he did a big bulk of the work in preparing this. So tonight, he has been through all of the attorney's comments and he will do his presentation to you.
All
We're
right.
all ears.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Town Council, for hearing us out on the second meeting regarding these changes. Like Paul had mentioned, the town legal counsel has already reviewed these, and the comments that he had were mostly very small comments, grammar and punctuation, and he did have a couple sections in there, section 167-3 regulations. He changed that basically referring to the town charter, Article 5, and removing some redundant and antiquated language. He did that on actually both 167 and 168. So the other revisions were relatively minor, just some wordsmithing and section 167.6 on the stormwater management plan, the bond release language, and 167-7 under the enforcement. And that was pretty much it for 167.
Do you want to do these separate, 167,
Yeah,
then
because
one?
it's a
Yeah.
public
Because
hearing,
they're
so
two
we'll do
different
two on
items.
both. Yeah. Do you have anything to
Public hearing.
address? Yeah, I'm going to be opening that. So it is a public hearing, so we'll open the public hearing at 7:37. If you would like to speak to this issue, to chapter 167, you can step to the mic, or I'm seeing nobody come forward. So we'll close the public hearing at 7:38. What's the desire of the council?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we move the chapter 167 updates to the next meeting on the consent agenda.
Apparently, because the way the charter states, it says 7 days between public hearing and final vote.
Yeah,
Technically, we've discussed this. 7 days is November 2nd, which is the next council meeting. So
we have a meeting
technically,
in 1 week.
yes, we go to first and third in November.
November, December.
So it would have to be on the 16th.
Okay, move it to the 16th on the consent agenda.
I think it doesn't say 7 clear days, but I think I remember that's the way the conversation was. So I think it was Becky and Paul who were at odds about that, if I understood it correctly. But
Becky was right.
I was gonna ask who was right, and I decided not to.
yes, you know. So all right. We
I made the motion.
and she seconded it. Barbara seconded it. So motion by Tom, seconded by Barbara. Any further discussion? Question, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained, 700. Thank you. Next on the agenda, council will hold a public hearing to consider the addition of chapter 168, illicit discharge, detection, and elimination to update the Merrimack Town Code to the current requirements of the EPA MS4 permit pursuant to Charter Article 5. And there were small changes there, Leo?
Same thing as chapter 167. There were some small grammar changes, some language changes. Again, legal counsel changed section 168-3. If you notice, our numbering was also a mistake. That's been changed as well. The one difference is legal counsel had asked for a couple extra definitions to be added. One specifically is the non-stormwater discharge definition. So that's been added to the section. And that's pretty much it.
And just for everybody at home, 168 is a new chapter because of our MS4 permit for illicit discharges that we had to, EPA had recommended to us to have a section in our code for illicit discharges. So chapter 168 is the illicit discharges that the EPA has recommended.
Before I give it to you, Barbara, if I, unless I'm reading this incorrectly, we start off at 168 once, to 168 2, it goes down to 167 3.
Correct. The
That's
numbering
correct?
was, the numbering
that's the
was
number you
incorrect.
changed.
So that's been.
Okay, because
that's
it wasn't
been
changed on my,
It wasn't changed on our
wasn't changed on
updated
these
sheets.
sheets.
Right. I actually just saw it tonight as I was preparing for the meeting. So that's been updated.
Okay, all right, very good, sorry about that. Barbara?
Just a couple of questions, Leo. So how do you determine if an illicit discharge has occurred?
So the illicit discharges are investigated through the MS4 program, MCM 3, right? Okay. Each year we have to sample outfall locations So those would be stormwater outfalls that lead to surface water bodies. We sample what's known as high-risk outfalls that could be subject to illicit discharge. So this year, we've already sampled, I believe, 11 outfalls. We do a dry weather sampling event. We also do wet weather sampling events. If an illicit discharge or if a hit is found on those sampling, we investigate further up the stream. So we'll sample at catch basins and manholes and go up further like that. We actually have a current illicit discharge investigation going on right now.
So what are you testing for? Because I didn't see anywhere in here that it says a list of the substances tested for. I imagine VOCs,
We have
PFAS.
the regulations part of this
Okay,
that will go hand in hand with this.
okay,
We tried to keep as much of the most changeable type things
right,
out of the ordinance and then into regulations to
perfect.
be able to deal with
Yeah.
it. I mean, that's one way that you find an illicit discharge. Another way is reporting. Somebody has taken paint and put it down the catch basins. Somebody's done illegal dumping. We've had that. Somebody's made an illegal connection into a drain line that should have been into the sewer line by accident. Those would all be also illicit discharge. But what he's talking about is what we go after. When we find a hit, we need to determine where that hit is coming from. And a couple of years ago, we had one, and it was coming from, a natural pond with geese in it. But we had to do what we had to do to move, to find out what it was. But there isn't a whole lot we can do about.
I was just gonna ask you. And what did you do?
They moved on, so.
So you
we
redid it,
have-
sample later?
yes.
Sample in the winter.
That's
All right.
funny.
Okay, we're good here. I'll open the public hearing at 7:43. If anybody would like to address the council, you could step up to the mic. And seeing no one coming forward, close the public hearing at 7:44. The pleasure of the council.
Chairman, I moved that I moved to move this chapter 168 illicit discharge detection elimination new chapter for the Merrimack Town Code to a third reading on November 16th on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Tom. And seconded by Nancy Murphy. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? 700. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all
Thank
of
you.
your work.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks for that.
appreciate it.
It's not easy. Especially when you're dealing with EPA.
All righty, updates from our legislative delegation. Nancy?
Sure, thank you. Today was veto day at the New Hampshire House. We voted on a small number of bills, and only one of them was overturned. One of the veto bills that we voted on was HB 342, a bill that I'd written relative to providing lead testing and related health information to parents, and documenting that information on the health forms for children in daycares and schools. This bill didn't require any additional testing for children. That's already in law. And parents retain their right to opt out of testing should they choose to do so. The impetus for this bill was a DHHS concern that despite the risk to children, to child development and brain health, COVID and some problems with the machines themselves not working properly resulted in a decrease in children being tested. The hope was that by providing this handout information that DHHS was creating, that it would serve as a reminder for parents to just get their kids in and have them tested. I share this information about this particular bill as lead is a neurotoxin. It's found in homes and pipes and including in our own schools. We test for lead, and we have found lead in some of the pipes in our schools. And I believe personally, it's incumbent upon us to take whatever action we can to protect children. Unfortunately, the governor's veto of this bill was not overturned today, despite my vote to do so. and that of my colleagues, Representative Rung, Representative Thomas, and Representative Bill Boyd. I wanted to thank each of them publicly for taking the time to read the bill, not being confused by misinformation in the governor's veto that spoke about it being an additional blood testing requirement, which it wasn't, and voting to prioritize public health and child protection. So that was it. So we finished up on veto day, and we'll be on to some more serious work and more time commitment in January. Thank you.
Did you
Nancy,
say,
what was the, oh, go ahead, Todd.
did you say that one was overridden?
It was not. It was not.
No, that one wasn't, but didn't you say that one was or not?
Yes, one was. Yeah, it was regarding licensing for. It wasn't impacting our town, so that's why I didn't go into it.
It was
Yeah.
a curiosity thing.
Yeah.
I get,
Yeah, it
that's
was
what I was
about-
gonna say.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And I didn't get
Nope,
anything.
no email.
And to just add, it was overturned in the House, but then it had to go to the Senate, so we don't know what happened there.
Okay,
Oh,
So, and it needs a 2/3 majority to overturn the governor's veto. So
right.
we didn't get that. I don't know what happened.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Very good. Paul, town manager's report?
thank you, Mr. Chair. Continental Paving is working on wrapping up all the paving projects before winter sets in. The work to tie in driveways, intersections into the new pavement is continuing. Once all paving has been completed, line striping crew will be in to stripe all roads. Work on Severance Bridge, Fields Bridge at Hammers Road has been progressing on schedule. The weather has been holding so far, which has helped keep the project on schedule. This week, they worked on the back retaining wall and installing new rebarb and setting new forms. The first concrete pour will be tomorrow on a back retaining wall. Next week, we'll concentrate on reconstructing the end of the deck section, and we'll be making another pour as early as next Wednesday if the weather holds out. The wastewater upgrade project is nearing 70% complete. This week featured a major turning point when we saw the new screenings climber for the new screenings building was installed through the roof skylight. They brought it in through a crane and put it right down through the skylight. I guess the guys at wastewater were all standing around watching it, and it was a pretty amazing sight. I wish they would have called me. I'd have loved to have seen it myself. Next time, right, Leo?
Next time, 50 years.
The long-awaited Salhegan River Trail construction project, we just heard, has a groundbreaking ceremony on November 3rd at 10 a.m. at Watson Park, weather permitting. And finally, a lot of activity at Watson Park next week. The bench honoring the late Phil Strait will be held on Wednesday, November 1st at 11 o'clock at the park. So we'll do a dedication service at the park. It's been installed. It was engraved. We'll do a dedication service next Wednesday at 11 a.m. I'll be sending you out, everybody on the council, a reminder, email as well, but just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
Thank you, Paul.
Paul, I've gotten some feedback from people wondering why it's taking so long on DW Highway to get the striping and driveway tie-ins finished.
That is a very good question. There are several reasons why. The crew that is going to do the line striping wanted to come in a couple weeks ago. However, there was a section on DW Highway that got not a variance, but approval, which would have changed the way things were striped. So we didn't want to stripe it and then have to come back a couple weeks later and restripe it. It's DPW has reviewed the plan, had a couple of questions. If all goes well, we're hoping they'll be in next week to finish that striping on DW Highway. I know it's a tricky, very busy road down there, and we understand, and we're trying to get them back into town to stripe that road as soon as possible, but we had to wait because it didn't make sense to put striping down just to tear it up again, to restripe for that one section of the road. So we're hoping next week. Right, Dawn? She's
That's
open
close enough to next
She's
week.
open. She's open tomorrow. I'm giving you a couple days, so when they get it tomorrow, we look great. So it's
There-
going to be done hopefully tomorrow.
There's also several driveway tie-ins that are not completed. Is that
Yeah,
a
we saw
problem?
that, and we're hoping that they get that work done as well when they're in finishing up some of the other driveway
And they
tie-ins
seem
and other
sporadic,
projects.
so it just
Yeah.
didn't make any sense that they would have skipped some
When they're using the paver,
You might want
right? Yeah,
to, you have to come up with,
you got to come over here,
you come
Don.
up
But what has been explained to me is that when they're using the paver, it has some extensions, and if they're going down the road and they can get that driveway with the extender, they'll do it. If the road is wide enough where some of those tie-ins are, they can't get the extender out to do the driveway, so a different crew has to come in and then tie it in. They try to use the extenders on the end of the paver to get those, but because of some of the width of the road, they can't get all the way out to where some of the tie-ins should be.
Basically, and some of the driveways are a little more trickier. They go up, they go down. They have different things around them, so they have to do handwork. So it's different crews that come in to do that type of work. And they always lag behind.
I mean, I understand lagging behind, and I know the people that talk to me believe that as well, but it's been a long lag.
I know,
Okay.
I know.
And it just,
I
I mean, because I've driven down it a couple times today, and I like 3 or 4 that are not done.
There are,
It just
yes.
Seems silly to be that close and not finish.
I understand.
Yeah. Don and I had that same conversation when we drove DW Highway today
Yes.
about the 4 or 5 that we saw.
So you understand the striping soon, but you don't have any updates on when the tie-ins are going to be completed?
I
or-
do not. We get a day-to-day schedule.
Okay.
Are they
We need to
coordinating-
start charging them if they don't get it done, in my opinion. I mean, it's just ridiculous, but thank you.
Are they coordinating with other projects in town, or is that-
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I figured that might have been part of it. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they're doing top coat on a number of different ones. So,
Right.
there's Joppa, there's Timber and Fernwood, there's the church. There's a couple
South
others.
Babuzik.
So South Babuzik was done yesterday.
Okay.
So they're working on the driveways and the intersections on that now.
so is it related to so many projects going on at one time and they're just prioritizing certain things at certain times?
They try to fit in as much as they can in one day, and they try to fit the projects in. This will take 4 hours, this will take 4 hours, this one's gonna take 6, this one over here will take 3, so they try to fit them together for days worth.
Are there more projects going on than we've had in the past?
It feels like it. They all seem to happen
Well,
at the
that's what
same
I'm wondering, what's the
time.
difference? Because
It-
previous, projects have seemed to go smoother and faster.
We started later, and they all came at the same time. They all started within a week of one another. It's been head
And
spinning.
it's similar, is it the same companies working on all the different projects, so they're moving around?
The same paving company, but there are different companies doing the different projects, different drainage projects, or redesign of the road, or whatever it is.
In years past, we got the paving done a lot sooner.
Yeah.
As soon as they could start paving, they would call us and say, "Do you want to come into town?" And we were like, "Yeah, come on into town." So we got the paving done a lot sooner. This time we had a little bit of delay because of turnover in the department and things of that sort. And so what's happening is that they're later on in the year, and of course, later on in the year, everybody wants their paving done before it. But with these projects we have going, they have to complete them, and they know they have to complete them before snow starts flying. So they'll be in town probably next week to complete some of those other projects she's talking about, and hopefully the hand crews will follow. The other thing too is that we finally got a nice stretch of weather for a week, so they were able to work all week instead of taking a day off because of rain. And this time of year when they're doing some of these other jobs, they got to take some time, to blow off everything because all the leaves fell because of rain the night before, to put down because they don't want to lay the asphalt on top of leaves. So, but this is a company we've used, and once again, it's all labor driven with them too, and their crews.
This is a company that we've used in the past.
Yes.
Yes, a lot. And yes, I'll take some of the blame because coming in as late as I did and then trying to get everything moving again.
So it's a combination of factors.
It was, and
But
then the
there's an
weather.
there's an acknowledgement that yes, it's taking longer than it has in the past.
Yes,
But there's a lot of reasons for it, and
I'm trying to make my next year's schedule so I like to be first on the list. But I don't like, well, maybe second, because the first, sometimes you get a little too cold in the spring. So, but yes, I want to have my list done so it can go out, be bid, and then do our normal progression. So I do apologize for this year because it was an off year.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Don. All right. Next on the agenda, consent agenda. The final acceptance of recommended changes to Chapter 193 Welfare Guidelines of the Merrimack Town Code pursuant to Charter Article 5. Who would like to move the consent agenda?
I move the consent agenda.
Motion by
Second.
Tom, seconded by Barbara. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? It's 700. Item number 1 under old business. Council to consider the appointment of the following individual, me, to the Heritage Commission.
I don't know about this one.
It's kind
Okay. What is
I
the
would like
pleasure of
to
the
move.
council?
That's dangerous.
Oh, gosh.
I would like
I
to,
don't do the planning board. So,
move to appoint Finley Rothaus to the Heritage Commission as the town council representative.
of second.
It's three-way tie.
we'll give Mackenzie the second. Motion by Nancy, seconded by Mackenzie. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? I guess I should abstain, so that's what I'll do. It's 601 unless you,
No? Question when you're finished.
Sure.
Think about whether you want to reassign one of your committees.
my committee assignments are very kind to me, so unless somebody wants to take some, except Highway Safety Committee, that's mine forever.
Which meets how often?
Once a year. No.
So don't feel bad for
Not
you.
at all. My committee assignments are light, so I'm very happy to take. I did the Heritage Commission, well, prior to you taking it over, I believe.
think Lon did it.
Lon did it, yes. Lon did it, yes. And so anyhow, so I'm ready to jump on board again. Thank you for your concern. Though. All right, item number 2 under old business. Don's going to present a follow-up to the final sewer rates and fees study report, which has identified several financial inequities that need to be addressed to standardize the billing practices.
So, we brought this forward, maybe beginning of the summer. And there were several questions by the town council on some of the issues. A lot of new people were involved with the process. Leo was just getting up to speed on it. Jessica, was new to the process. She was given the project halfway through it, and Don was getting up to speed as well. So there were some concerns and some issues that were brought forward at the time. And then what's going on is that we all met, we all took a deep breath. We took the issues and concerns from the town council, and hopefully we have everything that the council was concerned about rectified, and they'll be here tonight to go over their new findings of a new sewer rate study. The last time we did this was back in July, but before that was when Keith Hickey was town manager, was the last sewer rate study that was passed, so 2009, 2010. So it's been quite a number of years before we had the rate study. So this is an update to the rate study. So Leo is here.
Yes. How are you doing?
You don't know a name, just say Leo.
Well,
Big Leo.
oh my God,
Oh, my word, yeah.
Leo Square.
It's good.
That's it.
Jessica, welcome back.
Hi, thank you so much for having me back. My name's Jessica Richard. I'm from Pierce.
Can you either turn on your mic or bring it or both bring it closer in?
I'm a strategic funding manager at Wright Pierce. I did bring copies of the report and large copies of the rate recommendations if you'd like me to hand them out.
I think we have that.
I think we have it.
Okay, you have them. Just in case you need them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
And the report's right here as well. So,
They're bigger.
sorry, Leo.
Yeah, they may be bigger. Who knows?
It appeared, yeah.
Okay, so this is just the presentation overview. We're going to go over again what the sewer rate study is, what your current sewer rate structure is, the goals of the sewer rate study, and the recommendations that came out of the initial study, and then when we regrouped and looked at the rates again. So next slide, please. So basically, a sewer rate study is just making sure that your operating and maintenance costs, that you have adequate operating and maintenance costs for your system. AWWA recommends that you look at your sewer rates very frequently. It is a living document. Things change, assumptions change. Your last sewer rate study, as we said, was completed in 2009, and you also had some significant capital changes since that last study, and those are some of the projects listed there: the sewer interceptor, the wastewater treatment facility upgrades. Next slide. So the goals of the project were to develop budget projections, account for operations, maintenance, and capital costs, sufficiently fund the water enterprise fund, maintain adequate reserves, and develop fair and equitable rate recommendations. Your current sewer rate structure only pays for the operations of the wastewater treatment facility. It does not include the upgrades. Your upgrades are financed through your capital reserve account. And the recommendation that the town has been moving forward with is that the capital reserve account should have at least 50% of the operating budget plus capital outlay each year. Other than that, your upgrades are financed through DES, through the SRF program, or state aid grants. So these were the rates that were approved back in 2019. You can see it was 12%, 12%, and then we're going into the next rate recommendation would be a 5%. We looked at the 10-year capital improvement plan. Oh,
Can
go
you go
ahead.
back one
Yeah.
on that? Those rate increases are every year or every 2 years or?
Those were every 2 years. So
Okay.
you
It's just
increased,
important
yes.
To point out that we're not, 12% a year sounds like a
No,
lot.
no, it's every 2 years. You increase, you take it, a year, and then you increase again.
Thank you.
So then we looked at the capital improvement plan that we have going forward. And there's some significant projects that we have. The nutrient removal design, I won't go through all of them, but they're listed there for you. So we took those into account when we were doing this rate study. And as you can see on this sheet, your operating budget is there, and that's the operating budget for the last few years. Plus, we just, based on an escalation factor of 3%, we escalated it for 24, 25, and 25, 26. That increase from operating budget from previous year, that is just the increase from the operating budget. It is not something that we factored into it. So when you see it jump from 2021 to 21, 22, that 8%, that's just the cost of the operating budget that was approved. Then you also have the capital improvement bond and debt service schedules, and you can see those there. And then the pump station upgrades. So here are some of the major capital improvements that are coming in. You'll see those in 23, 24, 24, 25, and 25, 26. Okay. So we looked at the sewer. This is just a graph showing you what the sewer operational costs are and how those are increasing each year through 29-30. Next slide, please. And then this is when we add those major capital improvements, your minor capital improvements, and the new debt service associated with the upgrade. And it's unfortunately, it's hard to see on this screen, but you can see how those make up, in 24, 25, you really go up. At the same time that we were doing this, we were asked to review the apartment fees. We talked about this last time, and we've updated this. Thank you, Leo, so much for getting us those new units. So we looked at this. This was updated in September based on the total number of units and the information that we could get from the apartments. That is the flow-based fee. So that's currently what those apartment units are paying, about $150,000. So if we were to increase them to a flat rate fee based on the current rates, it would be $531,000, which the difference is $362,000. We estimate, based on the number of units, that the annual fee per unit is $85.71.
With the flow-based,
Yes.
okay, but you're talking about a 200% increase to go to some new program?
To charge them individually, the same way, to make it more equitable, that the apartment unit is charged the same way a single-family house is. And it shows you the difference. If you have any questions, just let me know on that one. I'll show you exactly what we did on this slide.
All right, thank you.
So one of the recommendations you had was to look at phasing those apartment fees, and we did that. So we looked at, we did 4 different options: no phasing, 2 phases, which would be over 2 rate changes, 4 years, 3 phases over 3 rate changes, 6 years, and 4 phases over 8 years. You'll notice that we selected the 3 phase because the annual fee per unit currently is $85.71. If we did a 4 phase, it would drop it down to $56, which would be less than they're currently paying. And then the 2 phase was it was very high. So we settled on the 3 phase, and you can see how it rolls in. And each time that there's a new rate change that's recommended, that rate increases. So it's basically doubled until you get to the current rate. Okay. So these are the recommendations that we have. So we are sticking with the 12, and 5%, but in order to make the budget work, we're recommending 7% in 27-28 and then a 7% in 29-30. And this is what it does. So you have a large fund balance currently, capital reserve fund balance. And this shows you those blue lines are what your current balance is and how it's accruing. That orange line is where your target is, where your 50% of your operating budget and capital outlay costs are, and where that should be. So as you can see, instead of increasing the rates higher, we're actually using that capital reserve account to pay for that debt service and those new capital improvements.
If we can just go back 1 second, go back another slide, 2 slides. So we talked about the $409 in the 3 phase in 6 years. And if you go 1 slide ahead, that $400 ties into
Exactly. It's
the bottom line, 2930. So in 6 years, they will be paying $409. A resident, if this goes through in 2930, will be paying $409 a single family home. That's what their residential sewer fee will be. So match between the apartments, and the apartments will be paying the same as a single. And that's really what we tried to do when we looked at the apartments. We can keep it the same on a full base, but it seems to be an inequity that they're not paying their fair share for sewer. So by adding this in the 3 phases, it doesn't put an outright burden of making somebody who's paying $85 technically to go up to the $304 right away in the first year, and their rents go up $200 because of sewer. It's over a phased-in period of 6 years because we increase rates every 2 years. So it's 6 years so the rents would not jump just because of sewer by $200. It'd be more of a steady increase over those periods.
So we're charging the owner of the apartment building, and he passes it on as rent increases?
Unless he's a good
Most
guy.
likely, that's what would happen.
Unless he's a good guy.
Well, I know, but so the idea is not to charge the per unit apartment.
No,
It's-
it'd be, if you got 10 units, it'd be $4,090 for your sewer fee for that 10-unit building. And if he's a nice guy, he pays it. If not, it gets passed on to the
It's gonna
renters.
get passed.
So, and condo units would just pay the per unit
The
charge.
condo units actually pay the $4
residential rate?
residential rate.
Okay. And can we go back to the phasing?
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm curious why in the phasing, the numbers double every year instead of, I mean, you actually said in 4-phase it would drop back to 56 and then double up from there.
No, so what you see in the no phasing is that's basically the rate that we're proposing in 25-26 multiplied by the number of units, which we're just using a growth factor for that, a very small growth factor, as you can see, 1,747 to 1,752. So that's just that rate multiplied by those number of units. The 2-phase is we're taking that rate and then you see when it goes into 26, 27, while it's a little bit more than the 334, 335, that is just accounting for that difference in the number of units using a growth factor. Does that answer your question?
No, I'm just looking at the top numbers here under the phases, and it goes from 191 to 382, which is like a doubling. And then 102 to 204 to 409, which is
Yes,
doubling
that's how we
each
were
time.
just doing it. Yeah, we were down. So we were
Why doesn't it
basically.
just linearly increase or something like that? Why, and
This
then why would you
was
drop
just-
back to 56 and go to 112 and 225 and 450?
Wait, I'm sorry. What is it?
What, in the 4-phase, you were talking about it, you didn't like that because it went back to $56 instead of starting at 85. Why doesn't it just start at 85 and linearly
We were
increase?
we talked about just doubling the rate to keep up with it. So that was just the methodology that we chose.
Okay, never mind. I don't understand, but that's okay.
It's, the desire was to keep it close to the 85, which is why in the 3-phase, we moved it up.
Yes, it was. And then when we had originally started this, we were at a different number of units. So it's really hard. It's like tracking a moving target. So we just settled on, okay, this is the number of units that we have now. This is where we think the rates are going to be. The way that we developed the model is you can actually play with what the rate would be and what the phasing would be to make it as equitable as possible. But good point.
It could have been done just over 4, which is what you did.
I can't imagine why you didn't just
Started.
start from where we are today and end at where you want to be and
Right.
divide it straight out across those many phases. But you went through some other plan where you ended up where you wanted to be and divided it back in half each year. And gosh, if you went to 6 phases, we'd have been paying them money. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
No,
There
that's
you
why
go.
we didn't do that phase. Could have worked either way. But Barbara?
Yeah. Can we please go back to the slide before this? I think it is. Yeah. So what? Oh, no. Oh, yep, that one. So this makes me nervous. And the reason it makes me nervous is because all of a sudden, 25, 26, you drop to a 5%, and then the following year you bring it up to a 7 instead of equalizing.
It's every 2 years.
Why is that?
So the 25-26 was the rate that was approved back in 2019.
Okay.
So we're recommending that you stay with that rate.
For
But
that time
then,
period.
yes, for 25-26, and then we're recommending that rate get increased to 7%
Okay. And then
for
it holds.
27-28 to account for the new capital improvements and the
Okay,
future
that
debt
makes
service.
better sense. Also, on the slide that you had with the listing of the apartment buildings,
Yes,
you just know that you've missed a lot.
okay.
So those numbers really probably will be very different once they figure in the fact that Flatley is already, for the most part, full, getting ready to build more. Slate is already 3/4 full, and then we have Innovation Way, which is the old Brookstone building that is renting now as well.
I think when we looked at this, though, we're aware that those units are gonna come online, but they're not built yet. But the plan would be to continually upgrade this apartment.
Right, it's a work in progress.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I think every
Yeah,
year as
because-
we see stuff come online, we're gonna continue to add to that list.
Were you mentioning the ones that are in the upcoming planning stage, the
Right.
possibility?
They're
Okay,
already there.
those are actually accounted for in this model, and we make a assumption as to when they're going to come online.
They're already
in the
online.
model.
Yeah, Innovation Way is on there, 96 units. It's the second one from the bottom.
Oh,
So she accounted for
yeah,
that in
that's
this.
accounted
Okay.
for.
Park Place, Slate Building, 224 is accounted for. And then up top, there is Gilbert Crossing, the first one, 240 units online. And then the next phase of the next two buildings is estimated to be 156. So what she did was she went
Okay.
with Leo. Leo actually went through and said, this is all the apartments that were, all apartment complexes we're billing right now in wastewater. And then Leo went to community development to figure out how many units each one of these are, and that's how they came up with the number of 1747.
Okay, thank you, because there was no explanation on the color differential as to why, and duplicates, so, thank you.
So if an apartment complex is completed construction, do they pay a sewer bill monthly for all units? Or it's only when they're occupied, which we'd have no way of knowing? Because it's not that we're metering every,
That's a good, I'm new at this. That's a good question. So I
What happens
wouldn't,
with houses?
typically, we don't charge them. Sorry. We typically, we don't charge, surfing until they have a C of A and they're actually living in the
Living there
house.
in the house, and the same thing with
Correct.
the apartments, they would have to get the C of A. And then they, because they're doing on a flow basis, they would have to wait till they get water data to bill.
right,
Because
but
right
so-
now
so
we're
if there's
doing on a
100
flow.
units and we've got 5 rented because they just opened, they're paying for 100 units?
No, they're paying for whatever the flow is. It's based on the flow.
Yeah, but we're getting away from that, aren't we?
Now we are.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
so.
the new, sorry, Finley, sorry to cut you off. The new proposal is they're paying for the number of units. So if there's 40 units,
Unit empty.
yeah, they're still paying for that
Okay,
unit.
no, that's what I was wondering. I assumed that
Yeah.
would be the
Yeah,
case.
they're still paying. We're not saying, oh, you only got 39 rented. No, like the last one, residents at 366 is 40. If they have 35 of them rented, they're paying for 40. That's what they would be paying for.
Yeah,
The
so if they have
total
5
number.
rented out of 100, they're paying
They're still
for
paying
100.
for the 100.
No, and I imagine that would be the case, but I just needed clarification.
That's gonna
Thank you.
make them scream, isn't it?
Well, that's the question. What happens with an empty house? Let's say no one's living in the house. Are you still paying the sewage?
As long as they have a C of A,
Well, see, that's whatever the consistent.
right? Most houses, like,
It's not
if I'm selling my
affecting-
house, I'm still paying for my residential
sewer
sewer
coming
until I
out
sell my
there,
house.
so-
If it's a new home,
Yep.
it's when they get you can move in, you're over, that's when it kicks in.
I
on
think the
that.
main argument is as long as it's equitable.
Right.
Whatever policies you have for individual residences
We're gonna keep them the
should be
same,
the same for.
right? We're
Right,
gonna
we
keep
get-
them the same.
We get calls all the time from closing companies asking about the final sewer bill, and it's usually, I believe it's prorated at the closing for whatever the homeowner is, paid versus what the new homeowner is gonna pay, and honestly, unless the house is abandoned, somebody owns it, and somebody's gonna pay that sort fee if, there's a C of A and somebody owns it. So it
Even
would
if it's
be
empty, right?
essentially the same
Even if
thing.
it's empty, yeah.
Yeah. Barbara?
So what happens with the 2 trailer co-ops we have? We got one off exit 11, and then you got the one down on the Daniel Webster.
They pay residential sewer
Is
rates
it residential?
per
as well?
unit
Okay.
because
Well,
they're
it's
hooked
consistent.
into.
Yep. That's what I was.
Yeah. That's important. All right, sorry about that.
No problem. So where are we at? Here,
Oh, okay, yes.
is that correct?
I think so. So the previous rates, or the rate study that was started back in 2019, 2020, looked at recommended septic tipping fees. This is in Appendix 3 of the handout, if you're looking for that in the comparison that they did. They basically came up with that the current rate is competitive with the market. The true cost of treating septic would be about $110.50, but that would make the town not competitive with the market. So the recommendation is really just to increase based on your regular escalation rate of 3% to 4.5. Sludge tipping fees were a little different. There are 8 communities, and this is in F of the handout. There are 8 communities. They range from about $55.14 to $69.21 per ton. We recommend that there is an increase because it's currently not equitable. The cost of the distribution of the cost of composting is not equitable to to non-Merrimack residents. So they're not paying their equitable amount. This is, again, it's just to get caught up, and then just a regular escalation factor of 3 to 4%.
Is this the fee is $1 per 1,000 gallons?
Yes.
Versus $1,000 per gallon, which is what it says.
Oh, it should be found.
It should,
yes.
it should be,
$1,000
we do the tipping on tons for sludge.
Oh,
Okay.
The tipping fee is
So
in
that
tons
number really doesn't mean anything. It's $65 per ton.
per wet ton, correct, yeah. When it comes in, goes over the scale, they're paying $65 per ton. Typical roll-off truck is like 14, 15 tons of sludge.
And your sludge, correct, is your prices are based on volume and the users.
Correct. We have some small communities like Bristol or Henniker that pay a little bit less because they don't, I should say pay a little more because they don't come as often. Whereas like a Franklin, New Hampshire brings quite a bit, so they get like a discount. They're a little bit lower because the amount of volume that they bring to us.
It's still easy to sell compost.
Yeah, actually, we've actually had a very good year marketing compost. We did 15 last year, 15,000 cubic yards. We've had a high of 18,000 in past years. It's really sort of dependent on the market, availability of material. Couple of years we came up, we had an issue with a lab test that we had to do a retest. So it's kind of shut us down a little bit early, but then we picked up this year and we kind of made up that difference.
So we're selling everything that we produce.
For the most part, yes. Yeah, I mean, we always have had some stockpile left over at the end of the year, and it just carries over to next year and
Okay, we
it
don't
gets
have to
sold in
ship
the
it out
following year.
and burn it
No,
or
no, we've never had to ship it out. Pretty much everything that's ever been made at the compost facility is eventually gone out the door, been sold, marketed.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next slide. And then just compost fee sales, again, just increasing with the cost of the operations budget, 3% to 4.5% was our recommendation.
Is that 4.5% for 1 year there?
It's just, yeah, it ranges between 3% to 4.5%.
Is there something special about 27, 28?
No,
or-
there was nothing special. When we went back and looked at the information in the original rate study, this was a recommendation that they said just between 3 and 4.5. So the recommendation maintains 3 to 4.5% to stay within what the operating budget's increasing.
Okay. Seems arbitrary, but okay.
So this is the rate recommendation. This was taken from a rate report done by New Hampshire DES. It shows you where your rate was when this rate report was done, the Merrimack 2020 rate. That purple line indicates where the current rate is. And then the next red text box is 2930, and that's where we recommend the rate and where you would fall. Again, this is a snapshot of the rates that they did the survey from I believe it was 2019 to 2020. So it is old and it doesn't account for communities increasing their rates in that time.
Yeah, so this is a snapshot that says all of these other communities hold their rates at
It's,
the current rate
yeah,
today,
it's
where we
assuming.
would be. Yeah.
They're currently updating this right now, so it should be released anytime. But this is an older report.
And really what this is showing is that the Merrimack rate is still in the bottom fourth of the
Bottom quarter.
quarter of doing it. Where I think when we started this, we were in the
We
bottom
were
10.
Fifth or something, I thought.
Yeah, we were fifth or sixth. We're in the bottom 10. So we're moving up a little bit, but you don't know if, for instance, Tilton Commercial Sewer had a rating or is due for a rate increase or looked at doing a rate increase. So we're going to be within the bottom quarter when this is all said and done, and probably in the bottom 15-ish. Yeah, when everything settles out.
I did go through and I pulled out that same chart from 2018 that shows us being fifth lowest. And interestingly enough, the sewer rate shown there for 2026 was $357. And if you compared this, and I have some if you're interested, but if you compare it to the chart that's up there, it kind of puts us on point to where we thought we would be. So if you guys are interested in that, I brought some copies for you.
It's nice to know it, so it validates the information that we have.
I do. I believe that we're on track and that overall we've done well.
Good, good. It's nice that you brought that information because it makes you feel more confident.
Makes me feel confident.
Yeah,
I'm new at this, so.
you did very well.
I think we've been very happy with what's going on here. The only reason we're questioning this is because when that line starts moving up the scale, if the public watching on TV is not understanding why that's happening, because the blue levels there are not changing from 5 years ago. That in reality, probably everybody's changing together, and we're still, as Paul said, we're still going to be down in the bottom quarter. No matter what, we're still doing our job to keep rates under control. Thank you.
And I will say for the ratepayers that as long as I've been here, Jim Taylor before me, we've always made a conscious effort to do what's in the best interest of the taxpayers. And I think the fact that the first plant went 50 years before this major upgrade that we're doing, I mean, we had pipes fall off the wall when they started doing demolition. So I think honestly, it's a testament to how much we've gotten out of that facility.
care.
And my goal will be to continue that moving forward, is to give the ratepayers good value for the dollar. So
Absolutely. Thank you.
we take it seriously.
Appreciate that.
So, and then just to conclude, these are the recommended sewer user rates versus the planned rates. The recommendation is to increase in 27-28, 7%, and 29-30, 7%. This allows it to, again, it's equitable. It maintains your 50% operating budget, or the 50% capital reserve fund at a level that is appropriate. And it funds your capital improvements and the new debt service.
So what happens after whatever that last line was, 2030? Are you projecting, guessing that we fall back to just a standard 3%
No,
or
it
something?
needs to be
or-
reevaluated. There are some upgrades that you have in the capital improvement plan, but again, it's too far out to make that recommendation at this point, and we decided that we didn't feel comfortable going beyond 29-30.
Well, you're only adding, well, that's 4 years that you've added, right?
Yes, well, yes.
Two-year increments.
We kept the 5%, 7-7 was what we did. We assumed that the 5 was adequate.
Okay, but taking into account all of these sewer upgrades we're doing, hopefully they're going to last 50 years. There are going to be some upgrades that has to happen, but we're not expecting to have to do 4 or 5, 12% increases over 6 years or 8 years or 12 years or something like that anytime in the near future.
It depends, it's all dependent on chemicals. It's all dependent on electricity. It's all dependent on natural gas. There's a lot of factors going involved that after 2030, we'd be taking a dartboard and just throwing darts at a dartboard to say what the increase would be. When I started 18 plus years ago, 19 at the end of this month, they did a $5 million cash upgrade. Well, that's 19, 20 years ago. So there are some other things that need to be upgraded with that. We did a dewatering upgrade, in 2007, 8. In 2031, 32, we might have to look at upgrading some of that. And we're just looking at potential of what that will be. We're not looking at a $30 million upgrade to do the plant, but who knows what the cost of construction is going to be in 29, 30, 30, 31 when we're doing these things. We're estimating to be what we think they're going to be, and to come up with a rate further than 29, 30. We just felt that it would be guesswork at this time to say, yeah, we're going to do 12. We're trying, but we are, if you go back a couple slides, please.
To the capital improvement plan?
Nope. Keep going. We're trying, as you can see on this slide, we have big surpluses here because we built up for the bond payments that we're going to have to make, and we knew that. So we're trying to use that to kind of let us come down to being able to fund the plant for 4 million using just the rates and not having to use a lot of the capital reserve or things things like that. So going out, we would assume that, yeah, those rates would probably just keep up with inflation, whatever inflation at that time might be.
Yeah, that was my point. Not that we can guess what's going to happen after 30, but that we anticipate this is going to flatten out to be just a cost of living or inflationary type number for a while at least. We're not expecting any huge.
Yeah, no, and
Increases.
it might not be 7, it might go up to 8, or might go down to 6 or 9, depending on what we need to do with those upgrades in the 31, 32, 33, 34 timeframe with what would happen. And, you know, this is a plant that lasted 50 years. Most of it's lasted 50 years. So we're hoping that we get at least 70 years out of this one. So,
Sounds good. I'll be long gone.
All right, so will I. Yeah.
so.
You won't even think of us.
We just did a motion for acceptance of the. So moved.
What? What did we move? I'm sorry. To accept the rate study?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and I think the questions that the council had have been addressed. And I'm comfortable with getting the wave. Thanks, sorry about that. Yeah. I saw the waiver in the back saying you didn't put the thing in. Anyway, I think the questions that the council had have been addressed, and my concern was that the whatever policy, whatever you do for single-family user homes are the same for the apartments. That's all. Whatever the policies, yeah, because there is going to be some, should I say, belly aching
Sure.
about it. But I think there's rationale. And again, as long as it's consistent, our rationale would be consistent. So that's why I feel comfortable.
Barbara?
And just to expound on that, when we say that the rationale is the same, a lot of these apartments have 2 bathrooms, you know, plus a full kitchen, which is what you would find in, you know, a 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom, single-family home. So you're still producing some output there.
All right,
Broken like a nurse.
no further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? 700. Thanks, we appreciate it, Jessica. Thanks, Leo. Wonderful job tonight.
Thank you.
Nice
You're
job.
welcome.
Great job. Thanks, Rebecca.
By the way, it's the first time really I've seen Leo.
Good talk. I just
Not, not in a uniform? Hmm.
Well, the last time too.
Enjoy it.
It's a management uniform.
Thanks
Yeah,
again.
just really quickly, though, I would like to give a little credit to Shannon for helping me with that apartment rate complex. She really deserves some credit there. I can't take all the credit. So,
Shannon is the secretary.
secretary there.
Nice.
'Cause she does the billing and everything, so she helped me with that, and she
Well,
deserves
that's
some.
what's nice. about
She
you.
deserves some
Appreciate
credit.
that.
She deserves some credit. so.
Excellent, excellent.
We often don't give credit for the support that we get, so that's nice of you to say that.
Thanks again.
Great.
Right, first item under new business, the council. Is going to be making a decision on the acceptance of recommended changes to Chapter 142, Parks and Recreation Areas of the Merrimack Town Code pursuant to Charter Article 5. Matthew is here this evening.
So Matt worked with the Parks and Rec Department. I've asked all my departments to review all their ordinances. As you know, every 5 years, we're supposed to be looking through all the ordinances. So I'm trying to bring them, you know, not the flood, but to bring them in through December. And then during budget season, we'll back off. And then once March comes around, we'll start up again with some of the other ones that we have to do. But there might be one or two that we have to do in January and February. So Matt was ready with the Parks and Rec changes to his Parks and Rec, so I'll let him go.
Before he takes it off from you.
Yeah, well, that's fine too, you know. Good evening, everybody, and mine hopefully won't be as nearly as intense as Don's stuff there. So hopefully we'll kind of move through this pretty quickly. As Paul mentioned earlier in the night, you know, the attorney did look at our section 2 and made a couple of minor corrections, which we incorporated in here. Most of the things in here are minor, you know, reads better, or, you know, that kind of things. That there's very little stuff that's new. But what I figured we do is obviously we'll just go through kind of each of the sections where we have changes. The first one is under the definitions here at point 1. All I did here was just alphabetize them. It was driving me crazy because it was kind of like this facility and this and this and this, and it was just. I was like, if I'm gonna fix it anyway, I might as well put them in order so it read a little easier. But again, not really anything substantive there. 142.3, we put in a definition of charcoal grills. We don't allow campfires. The only time we have that is kind of special exception for the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts, and that's kind of a special permit that Paul authorizes, you know, for those kind of single-use things. But we wanted to define it. We do have charcoal grills kind of throughout the various parks. And so, as I said, this just kind of further defines that particular section. 142.5 added in a new line, which was just prohibiting people from dumping household trash. It didn't currently exist in the previous version. We do occasionally see it. The dumps in dumpsters at Wasserman Park and some of the fields. We'll see a whole bunch of, you know, all of a sudden it's full when it shouldn't be, kind of thing. And by putting it in here, at least it gives us some enforcement authority, you know, as defined down below. To that, 142.7. This was one of the sections that the attorney had keyed in on, and had stated that it didn't need to be in here because it's elsewhere in state law. And so it didn't need to be specifically identified here. The only correction I do see that, as we're talking here, is if we delete line B, then C and D, E get renumbered. But otherwise, there was nothing else within that section. What's that?
D needs to be upgraded too.
Yep.
Talks about subsection B.
Yes.
So we'd have to-
Yep. 142.8 on animals. This was just trying to wordsmith it so it read a little bit better. It was worded funny in our opinion. As I said, the Park and Rec Committee had been looking at this. We started probably last spring and went through 3 or 4 meetings, kind of going back and forth on things. So the wording was just to clean up the language.
Oh, Barbara, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Matt, don't they ride horses at the horse Hill? Thank you. Had it a minute ago.
Horse Hill's underneath conservation.
Yeah, Horsfeld would be under Conservation Commission, so that would.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Well, that gets confusing for folks, maybe.
Well, they call us because they just assume, but.
I was going to say.
We usually we'll point them in the right direction or give them the answer if we don't know it. So, but yeah, within the parks, it's really dogs that we're worried about. The access. Under number 11, smoking, we added the terms vaping and cannabis to the definition. Now, who knows what's going to happen with cannabis down the road, and if that state law changes, then that'll make a change again. But just to clarify the definition was the purpose here.
So you meant smoking cannabis. You didn't mean
Yes.
chewing on
Yes.
gummies or any of that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
So, because it's a smoking section.
I get it. I just, you don't even actually need to bring in cannabis because if you're smoking it, you're smoking it. I mean,
Right.
but anyway, okay.
Um, 13, this section has always identified the ATV park as West Road, and I will tell you, I get calls every year from the West Road residents saying the access is not here, it's on Lawrence Road, and so we thought we'd clarify that, and change that officially in this section.
It's true, because it is on West Road, but it's a good point. 'Cause if you
There's-
plug it into your GPS.
It is on West Road?
Yeah, I believe West Road goes through to Lawrence Road.
It's
which is-
supposed to.
Which is a class 6.
Oh, Class 6 road.
Right, but it is West Road, but as far as this, I
It's
can see
off
why
of
you would want
Lawrence,
to do
so
that.
it's a better way to put it.
Yeah, off Lawrence Road.
Yeah, because it doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, you'd never find it the other way anyway.
I
Most
rode through
people-
that
And,
one years
and
ago.
hopefully that
I
will
don't think you can do it anymore.
alleviate some of the issues that I've been dealing with on West Road.
Yep.
Because it's basically private property you have to go through to get onto this class 6 road to get into it.
ATV park.
Downright, yes. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I don't need it for tonight. Yeah.
And then we're proposing a new section here on metal detecting. We've in the last year and a half, we've been getting a lot of calls about this. And people, well, can I go here? What's the rules? And we didn't have one. This ordinance was based on what New Hampshire State Parks uses, and we kind of tweaked it to our needs. But basically, we're looking at, obviously you can dig in the beach. But what we don't want is people putting holes in the middle of soccer fields, playgrounds, where things were, tripping hazards, particularly if they don't fill in the holes. Inside the dog park, we've suggested just not when dogs are in use. Just there's been issues with people going in there and dogs present, and sensitivity to strangers and causing problems and whatnot.
Matt,
Yeah.
why is digging and mineral collecting not a subsection of the 14215 metal detecting? You have A, B, and C, and then you quit subsecting and
I think it was attempt to metal detecting was, this is where you can do it, but if you're actually going to dig, it was kind of a separate category.
well, then it ought to have another. It ought to be another paragraph, right?
Yeah.
16 and 17, or
Yeah. And under here, obviously, like, we don't want people digging holes in Watson Park for obvious reasons. And then, like I said, we talked about outside the field, so it was kind of just we'll allow it in these places, but within, if you're gonna dig, here's the restrictions where there are restrictions.
So it should be a separate thing, as you say. It should not look like it's part of mental detecting. It should be stand on its own. Is that what you're
it
suggesting?
should be a numbered section.
142.
142 and 16.
So we could renumber
So that would be
that's fine.
17.
Yep.
Yeah.
16, 17,
Well,
18,
mineral collecting would be 17 then, by that
And
argument,
then 18, which is what.
and then 18 for violations.
So digging.
Whatever.
is one
Yeah,
forty-
whatever. Yeah, just renumber as necessary.
Yep, we can fix that.
Thank you.
And then, middle correcting, and then the last one was violations penalties, which will now move to 18, I think. And this was potential for a fine, but also cost, if we actually catch the person, the repairing the service, and the example that comes to mind is, I think it was last year, maybe it was the year before, we had one of the basketball hoops at Wasserman Park was vandalized. The cost to repair it was $950, so it didn't even quite meet an insurance claim, but it was an expensive
plenty,
repair for us
yeah.
to have to come up with. So at least if we had caught them, then it's, hey, here's the pay for this repair plus, plus a fine for causing the damage in the first place was our thought process.
Sure.
And that is what I have.
The only other thing I'd add is if we did make those separate sections,
Yep.
digging, those need to all be capital versus the
Versus lowercase, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
I can go back to metal detecting. The value in excess of $5 shall be reported to Parks and Rec.
That's what the
Are you
state
gonna
uses.
confiscate it, or are you just need to know?
I think it's just that was what the state used, so I kept it. Every now and then, actually, we had somebody when we did the beach renovation 2 years ago, and they dug that all up. We actually had a guy go through all the sand that they pulled out of there, and he actually found a Merrimack High School class ring from like 1985. He found an old lifeguard whistle, which is actually still sitting on my bookcase, from one of the lifeguard. So I mean, he actually the guy that found the ring actually found some forum of the class of 85 or whatever it was, and found the person and got it back to him.
Oh, very cool.
So that was kind of not, but like I said, the $5 was just what the state uses, so we copied it for simplicity purposes.
But the point is, they just have to report it.
Yeah. Not that we're going to keep it. No.
If they find a $30,000 coin, I don't know.
I mean, I'd love to keep
Finders-
that, but
finders
it-
keepers.
finders-
Yeah.
All right.
probably are some
I
of
think
those. right?
I like the changes. I'm good with that. So, unless anybody has any further questions, I'll accept the motion to move this to a second reading, to a public hearing
Second.
on the 16th. No, this is a second public hearing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So why the 16th and not the?
It's gonna be 7 days, and
I would have to have it in the paper yesterday.
Okay.
That's right, it's first reading, you're right.
so, motion by Barbara,
And I'll make a second.
if you'd like, seconded by Mackenzie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you,
Opposed?
Matt.
Abstain. 700. Thanks, Matty.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, it must be a coincidence.
Must be, yeah.
Is that punishment? Was that a punishment for the young man? Oh, perfect.
Thank you.
Take care now. All right.
I thought it was a
The
school
Boy
thing.
the Boy Scouts always have a merit badge if they do.
Or something that they have to
And
come sit
they
through
come
2
in.
meetings or 3
I think it's for
meetings.
an hour they have to be here, and I feel for them every time. Because it's not as exciting on that side.
AG used to have a teacher make him come to
Yep.
a citizen government. He had to write a paper.
Oh, how boring.
Is that the punishment back there too, maybe?
Oh, you're not using your mic.
So,
I just,
all right, item number 2 under new
I
business.
didn't want that one heard that well.
Council to contemplate budget parameters for the 24-25 budget season.
The meeting was going so well.
Yeah.
I come before you tonight to go over what I know for the 24-25 budget season. I can't believe we're already talking about 24-25 budget. I have set the schedule. I believe that if it's okay with the council, we'll still meet on Wednesdays and Thursdays in the month of January. So we'll meet that way. And it'll be 3 meetings again for departments to come forward. And then we'll have time. We have built in snow days if necessary. If not, we will use those snow days to start deliberations in the process. I will get that out shortly. It's just going through its final reviews to make sure that we have all the T's dotted and the I's dotted and the T's crossed, I should say. We do have a charter amendment this year. So the budget process is going to start in December because we need to hold a public hearing on that charter amendment. And with the number of days we need, we have to do that in December so that we can meet the number of days moving forward in that charter amendment is the student being put on the planning board. So we have a charter amendment as well. So with that being said, I know everybody's anticipating, when am I going to get my 2023 tax rate? We've been in contact with DRA almost every day. Adam is using it as I am the new guy. My boss is on my back. Can I get my rate, please? They've done the MS5 review and the MS9 review, so they have done some of our reviews already up at the state. So they're just waiting for one or two more pieces to be reviewed so that they can go forward and set our tax rate. I expect that to be done in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully the tax bills will be out no later than mid-November. Thank you everyone for their patience on that. We're trying to get it done as quick as possible. I know each year it seems to get later and later, for no fault of anyone's, but it just seems that the state has this funnel, and with 400 communities that need to have a tax rate set, with only 3 people to help set the tax rate, it's a monumentous task for them. So hopefully they'll figure out a solution in the near future and get that so that we can get our tax rates a lot quicker. So for 24, 25, what I know, and I'll be honest, it's not pretty. Workers' comp, I have a not to exceed 8% on my workers' comp insurance. My property liability, I have a 5% increase. Health insurance, I have a 20.1% guaranteed maximum rate. Last year was 13.1. Our rate actually came in at 17, but since they gave us a 13.1, they left it there. So some of this 20.1 is making up for that 13.1 that we got last year. Short-term disability increased 12.8%. I have 2 union contracts that are getting 3% wage adjustments. We have some increases in comp absences. 10% increase we're budgeting for fuel. Steady on the sand and salt pricing. We believe that since the last couple of years, sand and salt's been going up steadily. We think that we're going to see a flattening of those rates. Increased tipping fees at the transfer station. Electricity cost, while I've worked as diligently as I can to keep the rate at 7.9 cents a kilowatt for the town, we actually increased on the last contract. Our contract expired on 12/24. Will expire on 12/24, December 24. And when the rates dipped, I got on the phone with the company we use, and they got us a rate of 9.9 cents per kilowatt. So it's a 2-cent increase per kilowatt.
That's 25%.
Yeah, it's a big increase, but we've been around 7% for a number of years, 8 cents on the kilowatt for a number of years.
Is there, do you know a comparable Eversource charge?
Eversource is over 10 to 12 cents right now on the bill as we speak. Last winter, as everybody knows, they were at 22 cents and we were paying 8. So I do not foresee Eversource being below 9 cents. So it's still going to be a good deal for the town. It's just how good is it going to be? And then, of course, our capital reserve. We're looking at our capital reserve next week, a CIP plan, and you'll see that there are some increased costs of doing business with some of our vehicles, as we've seen over the past years. You know, we used to be able to buy a police cruiser and fit it up for about $39,000. Now it's almost $55,000 to buy a police cruiser and fit it up. So some of these costs have gone up with inflation and the manufacturers. I do not know what the pricing is going to be for police and fire command staff vehicles next year with the current state of the UAW. But hopefully they'll get back on production and we won't see too big of an increase. But, you know, wherever they settle their contracts, I believe it's going to get passed on to the consumer. Natural gas rates, I'm fortunate to say that I have a contract that ends in 2025, so we'll not see a increase on our natural gas rate. It's at 6.7 cents per therm. Electric rates, we locked in until December of 2026 for 9 cents, almost 10 cents a kilowatt. What I do not know and what's pending is state revenues again, meals and rooms. We have two contracts. We're going to be talking about Teamsters and NEPPA 112. They're up for contract renewal. Teamsters is the supervisors of DPW, solid waste, wastewater, and highway. NEPPA 112 is the dispatchers and office staff in the police department. And then non-union wage increase, and then any use of fund balance that we're thinking of using or moving forward with. What we estimated our 2000 municipal portion of the tax rate to be $4.11. Workers' comp at 8% is about $37,000. Health insurance is the big one, $676,000, or 14 cents on the tax rate. The union contracts run out. They're about 10 cents on the tax rate. Increase in comp absences and gasoline are about a penny each for 2 cents on the tax rate. Solid waste disposal is about $46,000 or a penny on the tax rate. Electric costs going up about $30,000, roughly a penny with rounding. Capital reserve increase right now is looking like almost $370,000. That's about 7 cents on the tax rate. We've been fortunate enough to be stockpiling, so to speak. And stockpiling isn't a right word; it's a bad word to use. Hedging for the SAFER grant. We all knew that the SAFER grant would be coming due in 24-25. We started the program in February of 21. February of 22. I had to do math on my fingers. February of 22, it was a 3-year grant with the federal government. So with that last quarter, March, April, May, and June of 2025, we'd have to pick up the cost. We've been setting money aside for that over the last 3 years once we accepted the SAFER grant. So we'll be backing off our paving money, about $267,000, and then the additional firefighters on the fire department tax rolls will be $267,000. So there's not a tax increase there, or it's an offset, 5-cent decrease and a 5-cent increase for that. Once again, we are in a good position with that to accept in 25-26 100% of the cost. That will not affect the tax rate. And interest on pooled cash, we increased our interest to $1 million this year in September, a couple weeks ago when we did our MS 434 review. I do not see the interest going up higher than $1 million in the town right now. We're keeping all our other revenues because it's a 2-step process. Appropriations revenues. We're keeping all our other revenues, we believe, pretty much constant. But as time goes on, we're going to have to look at buildings and building permits, depending on what the interest rates are. And then also what real effects this UAW strike has in inventory for vehicles. Right now, we are on pace to hit our goal of $5.6 million for motor vehicle permits. The real reason for that is that 1,747 new apartments that have come in. Those people are keeping our revenues going forward with registering their cars here in Merrimack. They're not brand new, but every penny, every dollar helps to make us hit that goal. When you add all the pluses and minuses, and I know there's only really one minus on the sheet, it looks like about a 36 cent increase right now is what I'm projecting, looking at just my guaranteed maximums and my not to exceeds. It's a hard number to swallow. I sat on this Friday, Monday, looked at it again, tried to see where we could try to find some savings and other things that maybe we can look at in the budget. And trying to get, 36 cents, I understand, is one of the largest increases in my 18 years here on a tax rate. But it's kind of hard when I got 24 cents right off the bat between union contracts and health insurance. I got 24 cents on out of this 36 and just those two categories alone. So,
Right, and then the inflation that we've been experiencing
Right.
is really coming to roost now.
Right.
It's,
you know, case in point, we've had a flashing light here at Town Hall and in between the buildings. One of our lights, it's been flashing. It looks like a strobe light. We had the contractor out 3 times. He ordered a new light. I think the new lights just came in. And that was over. We started this process almost a month and a half ago. So we finally got our light fixture that we can replace these lights, the LED lights in between the two buildings. And it's a lot is supply chain, a lot of labor costs are expensive.
well, everything's gone up. It's a combination of inflation is a serious problem. But on top of that, people take, and I'm not knocking it, it's the way it is, businesses take advantage of that opportunity as well. You know, I mean, I witness it in my own work that I do. It's something that it's going to, obviously is having a big impact.
And the other thing too is that even though the people are out there to do some of these jobs, it's taking more time to get them here because of their labor shortages and of their individuals, and they're being stretched thin for some of these items as well to get them here. And then we get contractors that we think would do a job, and they'll start looking at it like, no, we don't need that. We're good. We're gonna go someplace else and do something else because we know we can charge X more %. So, I know it isn't a pretty picture. I know it isn't, you know, what everybody wants, but I felt that I needed to bring that forward to the council and talk to you about it and the 36 cents. And, you know, right now, looking at most of my departments, they're mostly staff driven. I think out of all my departments, I might have 1 or 2 departments that is not staff, have, you know, over 70% of the budget. So it's a lot of staff cost in the budget. When we look at the budget, I have 2 departments that basically are the other way, where they don't have, the staffing is around 50% of their budget. But those are 2 departments that do a lot of construction or, you know, helping out other agencies, so those costs are not on the town, and other agencies help the town out, you know, in our welfare department, you know, so, but that's where we sit.
You won't kill the messenger.
Thank you.
Not this time. Oh,
You know, and as I've done in the past, I've always tried to come in underneath that there, you know, whatever my projection is, I always try to come in under it as best I can. And it's going to be up to the departments to really look at their budgets. And I had this conversation, really look at their budgets and see where they can save and help out us. You know, it's a great community to live in. I'm prejudiced, but Merrimack's a great community to live in. And, you know, I know that it gets expensive for some people, and trying to save, you know, people to stay here.
Well, as the budget season approaches, you and your staff can have those discussions and see what they can dig into. And it would be helpful, I'm sure. So, but there's a lot offered, and so, I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll just start the process.
I mean, we also always have to balance the budget and the services. And when you cut some service, cut the available staff, or so the public has to understand that the services have to be decreased too. And that's the kind of debate we have to get into all the time. When we're talking about budget, it's going to be a whopper this time.
Andy?
You mentioned, you know, need to take a look at fees, right? I mean, if we're talking inflation and we're talking the burden to the taxpayers go up, to be equitable, we should be looking at at fees. Is there a schedule on when we're gonna go look at some of these fees and adjust our revenue numbers?
Yeah, we've already looked at our health officer fees. I have had preliminary conversations with the fire department to look at building permit fees. And we will have that conversation with the rest of the departments too, to look at fees to make sure we're covering our costs.
Like ambulance fees covered by insurance.
Ambulance is a tricky one, because we do Medicare Plus.
Correct.
We are, even though it seems like our ambulance fees are higher, surrounding communities are doing Medicare plus kind of. This gentleman had the same service from his house to a hospital. I believe Merrimack was around $1,100, $2,700 for AMR, same service. And it wasn't life-threatening. It was just to take him from his house to the hospital and then back. It was AMR charged $2,700. We could get into that discussion.
I mean, I don't think we need to commit,
Yeah,
compete with AMR.
no.
But I think it has to be looked at in terms of what's reasonable.
Right. If we
And what's-
increase probably 25% on our billing rate,
Right.
it could be $250,000.
And again, we maintain for those people who can't. It's that
Right.
we've always had that policy that if it's not covered by Medicaid or Medicaid or
Right. And,
insurance, we work.
and the other thing is what we when we send out a bill, if somebody is not insured and we send out a bill to them saying, hey, you owe us $1,200, say, we send out a form saying, if you can't afford this, please fill out this form and we will review it. And we do review everyone case by case on that. And, we do look at a lot of different areas
Right.
with it. It's not just a, hey, you owe us the money. I don't care if you're 90 years old, pay me the money kind of deal. It's, here, look at this, we try to work with people as best as possible with it.
Well, that's a discussion we have to have because I know that we accept the Medicare rate, if I understand. I say I know. I believe. we do.
Medicare Plus.
But we have people with very good health insurance coverage and they pay the monster difference, which we might be lower than AMR in those, but it's still a substantial hit.
Right.
So that's a discussion for.
Yeah, we pay
another-
Medicare
it might
plus
be a
50.
workshop. What's that?
Ours are Medicare plus 50. So it's Medicare rate. If the Medicare rate's $1,000, we charge $1,500. So it's
But if
Medicare
you're on
plus 50.
Medicare,
And Medicare comes in, they contractual adjustment, it's gone.
see, and that's
Medicaid.
we've been talking about equity and fees for sewer.
Medicaid, it's
Medicaid.
Medicaid, if you're on Medicaid,
No, that's different.
but you get a Medicare also, you get the Medicare adjustment, and that they'll adjust your bill. So for instance, if you're on Medicare and I'm doing $1,000 bill, but it's $1,500, they'll knock the bill down to $1,000. Pay whatever your insurance is with Medicare, Medicare, and they'll pay that, and then there's the balance that the town can go after, whether it's $100 or whatever. On Medicaid, they knock the bill down. You can't go after
Yeah,
that.
that's for people in tougher straits, if
Right.
I understand.
Right.
I understand.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. Medicaid, we can't. They cut the bill, that's that.
Yeah.
And we are not, talking about ambulance, we are not, I'll repeat the not again, contractual with Blue Cross Blue Shield or any insurance company. We do not take, here's the bill, you have to pay the bill. We don't have contracts with those companies because they always want to get you even less than what you would be entitled to.
All right, that's not for tonight.
But I can,
But
I
again,
can
it's one of
have,
those
when the fire
places.
department comes forward, we'll set that up. So,
Look at.
so maybe on a separate meeting, we can come and talk about that with the council and talk about the options that we do have versus.
Because it's been a while since we put it
And,
up.
and I'd like to look at fees across the board.
Well,
not
yeah,
just
we
the
will.
ambulance.
No, I understand that, but I'm thinking of our big ones are ambulance, interest, cars, registrations, things of that sort.
Yeah. Tom?
But I just want to point out, our fee structure, as you said, I just want to kind of amplify that, is based on retrieving the cost
Correct.
for a particular feature or service. We're
Right.
not trying to go out and make money on fees. We're not, it's not a hidden tax or something like that. We're simply saying that there's a cost to provide service and we charge the fees to cover that cost.
And we're trying to cover not only the employee, but any administrative cost that goes along with it.
But all of our costs,
Right.
but the cost for that extra service.
Right, yeah. It's not, we're not a business where I could say, okay, I'm gonna sell a widget for $1. Now I'm gonna sell a widget for $1.50. We're in the business of
It's costing us
Providing
more-
service.
providing services
Costing
to the
us more to do
residents.
business, and we're just trying to.
Keep up,
Yeah,
with
we
that.
just need to recoup our costs. But it's easy for somebody to think that, well, when they're raising their fees, they're just increasing taxes or something like
Right.
that. No, we're just expanding on the fact that it costs us X dollars to provide this additional service or special service.
Right.
And we need to recoup those appropriately,
Right.
as we talked about with the water rates and stuff like that.
And we all know it. We said it when we were talking 10 minutes ago about
We
the
know it. I
apartments.
want to make sure the
Yeah.
public.
No, but we, with the apartments, we understand that if we increase something, 90% of it's gonna go on to the end user. And we understand that, and the council understands that. So we try to keep our cost as low as possible.
Yep, absolutely. All right. We're all set with Paul? Oh, Barbara, I'm sorry.
Just something to think about as we go into this budget season. First of all, how many open recs do we have? Where are they? And how long have they been open? And you know what the next comment is.
No, I understand.
Because if they've been open for any length of time, do we really need them still?
No, I understand what you're saying.
Open, I didn't hear the word she.
Open
used.
recs, requisitions for
We-
open positions.
Yes, we've been, Sharon and myself, we started this about maybe 3 or 4 months ago, starting to look at where we stand in the hiring process and how many do we have and where we are and things of that sort, because I thought that would be a discussion point there as well. It's true. We got to look at it to see if the position's needed.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things is we fill and then somebody else will leave. You know, we talked about it. You know, Phil Machino retired. I got an open position in building and grounds. It might take me 4 months to fill that position. And I understand it's a needed position, but that might be filled and then all of a sudden my accounts payable person will leave. So we have to look at those things, even though there might be 17 open requisitions right now, it's not the same 17.
That's why I said, how long has that position been open?
Right.
Versus,
Right.
which helps to show that it's not one position open that long, it's just a turnover.
Right, exactly. And for a selfless plug here, if anybody's looking for a job, go on Merrimack NH, merrimacknh.gov, and all our jobs are listed. And there are a variety of jobs. There are equipment operators all the way up to police officers. So there's a variety of jobs available for people if they're interested in working for the town of Merrimack.
Thanks for the plug. All right. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Approval of October 12th minutes, October 12th, 2023. Anybody have? Any,
I don't
any
have any
modifications,
changes.
adjustments, changes, edits? No?
I don't have any changes, no. Move the meeting minutes of October 12th as presented.
Second.
Motion by Tom, seconded by Nancy Murphy. All those in favor?
Was
of the-
Barbara Healy or, I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought it was Nancy.
Oh, I
Oh,
thought,
it was
okay.
Because I just heard the voice over here. It sounded.
He was trying to trick you.
All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain?
And all.
Mackenzie's abstaining. Yeah, 6-0-1.
Mackenzie abstained.
Yes, I did say that. Yeah. Question, no, comments from the press, comments from the public, see nobody here, comments from the council. Nancy?
Great, thank you. Just two announcements that actually we made before, but the dates are getting closer. On November 3rd and 4th, the Our Lady of Mercy Church Knights of Columbus Craft Fair will be held at J Muse. And it's going to be held on Friday from 5 to 9, Friday, November 3rd from 5 to 9, and on Saturday, November 4th from 9 to 3. Also, there's a Wreaths Across America annual event that we'll have on December 16th at noon again at Last Rest Cemetery. We're still trying to seeking sponsorship of wreaths. We need 286 more sponsored.
We're getting there.
Yep, we're getting there out of 650, and the wreaths are $17 each. But anybody that's willing to sponsor right now, we get to two. If we purchase two, we get a third free. So that would be wonderful. And at the Knights of Columbus Fair, we will also have a table where people can purchase those wreaths if they don't want to do it online. Anybody that's interested and just wants to reach out to Jennifer DeFelice that could do that, or wreathsacrossamerica.org/New Hampshire 0034 for Last Rest Cemetery. So those were the two. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Nancy. Nothing further?
Move to adjourn?
Motion by Andy, seconded by Barbara. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained, 700. Thank you, everybody.